Hey everybody, welcome to the Mark Parham podcast. You can find me on Spotify by just typing in Mark Parham podcast, and I should pop up. I wanted to talk about, he's an actor, I think musician, Russell Brand. Regardless if, you think he's guilty or not guilty, that'll be worked out in the court of law. But, one of the amazing things that I've been seeing in the media is that, they're trying to, or they've not tried, but they've already done it, but they've taken away, some of his, I think, ad revenue or something like that. But some of the advertisers have been, pulling away from companies affiliated with him and all this other stuff. And again, that's, it's amazing. But I just want to talk about this whole, censorship type of thing. Anytime allegations that happen nowadays, it's just like, companies and people go into this mode where it's like, oh, well, let's make sure this person doesn't have a voice. Let's try to censor them off the internet. Let's try to destroy their livelihood, even without there being proof or without, there being a judgment in the court of law. It's just like, are we going to take allegations for, every person who had a life to go out here and, somebody who's an actor or a basketball player? Are we going to take allegations from somebody who's saying, well, this person did X, Y, and Z to me before, you're proven innocent or guilty? I mean, we're just into this place right now. It's scary because, companies, and again, I know some people make the argument about, well, companies have the right to do what they want to do because, that's how the companies want to run. But this whole cancel culture thing of somebody said the wrong thing or somebody did something that we don't like, let's go after them. And I think that's what's happening. They don't want to be honest, but all of these organizations going after Russell Brand, I think some are going after him because they don't like that he's exposing a lot of different things. I mean, he's talking about Bill Gates. He's talking about, I think it's the World Economic Forum. Like, he's talking about real powerful people. And so, instead of having folks come on people's programs and debate people, what they do is they use, I like to call it economic warfare, where it's just like, oh, we don't agree with what you're doing. Well, if you use a certain product or certain technology, let's make sure you can't raise money, or let's make sure that you can't monetize your videos, or let's make sure we ban your music, or let's make sure, we keep you off of magazines and stuff like that. And, that seems to be the new tactic, especially if you're somebody who's conservative and you don't just go along to get along. I mean, they tried to do that with Kanye West a little bit. And again, I'm not saying, I'm not agreeing with what he said and some of his actions, but it's just like, let's destroy everything around you because we don't like what you said. And, if that's the case, then you can pull up something on everybody. You can pull up something on probably half the people listening to this, me, you, anybody else that has done something in the past. Again, we're people. We're not perfect. We're not perfect angels out here. And I mean, if we're going to sit up and try to get people fired from jobs and stuff, I think it's the wrong thing to do, especially when the person hasn't been, we don't know if the person's innocent or guilty. I mean, he'll have his day in court and the judge will decide, and that's all it is. But to sit up and try to get people canceled because they didn't say a certain thing, I mean, it's ridiculous. And they tried to do that to Kanye West when he said he was a Trump supporter. When he said he was a Trump supporter, it's just like all hell broke loose. Kanye, how could you wear that red hat? Kanye, we're not going to buy your music, and you're a racist, and you're this, and you're that. And again, I'm not saying I agree with anything he's done, but it's just like anybody who has a different opinion nowadays is considered the bad guy, especially, in places where, we're always taught that, some places, some other countries don't value free speech and they're not free, and other countries have communists and all this other stuff. And, we're turning into the countries we always talk about. Like, how can we talk about North Korea and those countries when we have different organizations and people that, basically try to destroy your life off of allegations? I mean, if that's the case, then it's a dangerous path. It's a dangerous path to say, well, you know what, I don't like that this person might be pro-choice, And so I'm going to sit up and I'm going to get a group of people around me to go after their sponsors or their advertisements and stuff like that. I think it's corny, and I think it's just a wrong way to look at things. Let people have their due date in court. And if you don't like what somebody's saying or doing, come on their show and debate them. I mean, I'm sure that if some of those same people who are accusing him of stuff wanted to come on there, or companies want to come on there and just have a debate, or sit down and, talk about certain things, I'm sure he would do that probably in a heartbeat. But to get to this point, and I wouldn't say it's just America, but around the world where, people don't want to have debates with people. People don't want to sit down and, do it the old school way. The old school way was, I don't like your opinion or I disagree with what you're saying, but let me come on your show and let me debate it in front of a studio audience, or now we have the internet, and just let, people say their side of the story. But I mean, we're not going to get anywhere as a nation by just shutting people down and saying, well, you can't talk at all. We don't want you on this platform because we don't like what you're saying. That goes against everything America was built on. I mean, America is especially America, but again, other countries that claim that they're for freedom. If they're about freedom, then people should be allowed to say what they want to say. And I mean, again, everybody has their own levels of what they think. The levels of free speech, because again, I consider myself somebody I'm 100% for free speech, even if it's stuff making fun of me or things that I don't like, or things that people might deem, let's say, or think of that's offensive and stuff. To me, it doesn't bother me. But I mean, again, you can't be sensitive about everything, and that's what's happening now. And it's to the point where, let's say somebody says something about a particular group. Oh, well, you're racist, or somebody says, oh, well, that woman over there looks like X, Y, and Z. Oh, well, that person, you're fat shaming. And we've it's very sad. It's extremely sad. And, in a sense, things were, as far as free speech, you almost had more free speech if you think about it in the 90s. I mean, everything now is got to be so politically correct and walk on eggshells. I don't want to offend this group, so I can't make a joke about this. Half the comedians in the 1980s, they wouldn't even have a career right now. I mean, could you imagine if, let's just say, as much as I, can't stand him sometimes, but could you imagine if Howard Stern started his radio show in 2023? Like, he'd be canceled probably the first day. And one thing I will say about the 80s and 90s, in America at least you had, a level of just freedom. I mean, now everything has to check a box, and I think it's weird, and it's destroying entertainment. It's destroying people's lives. I mean, we got to get out of this cancel culture. And I've said it in other videos and other podcasts, but I mean, we can't just put on kid gloves every time somebody's doing or saying something we don't like. Even if I agree with him or not, even if I agree with some of Russell Brand's actions or not, let this guy, have his day in court. Let this guy have his day in court, and let proof and the facts come out. But it's just like people just, oh, well, everybody hates this person, and this person did X, Y, and Z allegedly. So let's just, go after him. The newspaper that's probably biased, said, he did this and that. Well, let's make sure we cancel this, and let's make sure, we mess up this person's life at the end of the day. I think it makes no sense. Are we going to start, for people who are like, Dave Chappelle and Seinfeld, are we going to start trying to, say, well, you know what, we don't want you to make any money off of comedy because you made fun of, a person who's, 4 feet or something? I mean, that's where we're going to. And it just makes life boring. It makes things boring, and it's very sad when got to walk on eggshells for everything. And I think that's one of the reasons why, some of these other platforms online are doing so well, because people just want a place where they can express themselves. People want a place where they can sit back, create what they want to create, and they don't have to worry about, well, I can't say this, let me censor myself over here, can't do this, can't do that. I think people are tired of that attitude. And if some of these major companies are going to keep on, promoting this whole cancel culture and don't offend anybody type of mentality, I think you're going to have a lot of, tech companies, businesses, they're going to use that to their advantage, and, people are going to go to those places. I mean, that's why you're seeing some companies that are, more free, that believe more in freedom of speech doing so well. I mean, you look at Twitter, that they call it X now, but I still call it Twitter. But if you look at, companies like that are, changing stuff up and making moves and creating and innovating. If you look at those companies in technology, they're doing very well. Look at Rumble. Rumble is taking off. I mean, I remember when I was on Rumble in the beginning, I didn't think it was going to get as big as it is right now, and it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger because the people who were on these other video sites and stuff that said one thing and got canceled or strikes against their account now can actually express themselves how they want to. So it's only going to make some of the platforms that we're quote unquote not supposed to be on even bigger. And who knows, in a sense, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that this whole, cancel culture thing is backfiring. I mean, if we're going to sit up and cancel everybody that we don't like or something, or get rid of people that we don't like, because they might have done something in the past, guess what? A lot of rock bands, a lot of hip hop bands, they wouldn't even, they wouldn't even have a chance right now. Like, could you imagine if, a group like, I don't know, take Guns N' Roses or something, or Nirvana was making music right now? They would have a hard time because people would be like, well, Kurt Cobain said this about this group of people, and, don't listen to his music, and we should take it out of the record store and don't have it on, the streaming services and stuff. Like, it's crazy. You don't like a person and you don't like what they stand for or represent, don't listen to them. You don't have to watch their program. Or, you know what you can do? If you got that type of platform, create your own videos, reaction videos about what they've said, or if you have the ability to, debate that person. But don't sit up and cancel everybody for everything. It just makes life boring. It doesn't make any sense. And especially some of the tech companies that are reacting to every little thing that people do, they have to remember that nobody's a perfect angel. Even the people running the tech companies have made mistakes and said things behind the scenes. So am I going to stop using the tech platforms I use because, somebody might have made a joke about people that were out of shape? No. I mean, you would have to basically cancel everything in your life, or cancel everybody if that was the case. So again, that was just me rambling a little bit, but you can check me out by going on Spotify. Just type in Mark Parham podcast. That should pop up. And then again, if you like what I'm doing and stuff like that, then just check me out there. So anyway, have a good day. Bye.